sorry. After taking the training in Bermuda, I approached Debbie and I said, Debbie, I really would like to see this training in my country. After doing some research and looking at the organizations in the Bahamas, I saw there was a void in preventative training. So that's where it clicked to me. And I said, you know what? Yes, we do have laws, we do have the rules, the regulations. However, if we could prevent the next child from becoming a victim, then we would more or less be on the right pathway. Also, the education and the empowerment of the parents, the guardians, and adults was a lack thereof that I saw in my country. So Debbie and I, she's using her platform. She decided, she said, you know what, Siobhan, I would love for you to help me facilitate, but you have to do the training. So I then move into becoming a certified facilitator, which I would have done the next level of training. And I am able to help her facilitate training. So from 2020, I think 2021, we have trained about 98 Bahamians, including yourself, Ms. Gardner. And so from time to time, we put together a few trainings. So our next training is coming up on November the 26th. That's a Sunday. And it's at 2:30 p.m. It's a 3-hour training. It's 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guess what? It's virtual. So there's no excuse. You don't have to leave your home. We will be conducting the training virtually. It's a in-kind donation of $20 that is paid through SCARS. SCARS is a registered charity in Bermuda. So that's why, we have to, we can only accept the donation that way. So if you would like to be empowered, if you would like to be trained as a steward of children, advocate, please email me at saveourchildrenalliance@gmail.com so you can sign up for this very important life-changing training. And $20 donation is there's no value on the life and the innocence of a child. So it's just an in-kind donation that you would make. Once you email me, I'll send you further information. Like I said, the next training is Sunday, November the 26th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What this training is about, just briefly, is the empowerment of adults. So it helps you to recognize, help you to act responsibly. How it also helps you with reporting to the right authority. So it basically gives you a holistic approach to child sexual prevention. It is an adult-based training, just to ensure that you know. So it is a 3-hour training of your time. And guess what? You get a certification to say that you have done the training, which is very valuable. You can always use it and say, guess what? I recognize I am able to, speak a little more comfortably when I speak to others about this issue. And like I said, you don't have to be a parent. I am not a parent. But it's a very, very good training. I'll turn it over to Kevin. I think Kevin would have done the training as well to speak about his experience with the training.
Yes, the training is amazing. In fact, I'm featured in one of the videos in the training. I think it is such an amazing training. And in fact, I think it's so important. I often tell churches that everyone in their congregation should be trained on this. And I think if they're not, you're failing your congregants. I think you're not really doing what Jesus would want you to do, which is to protect children. Because I love what one quotation says. It says, when one child is abused, a whole generation is affected. So we're just not saving children, we're saving the world. We're actually saving future generations, right? And so your childhood lasts a lifetime, right? And so if we don't really train, how much are we really saying about our children? Let's be honest, we live in an abusive culture, right? And the brain matches whatever culture we put it in. So if we live in an abusive culture, our brain is going to match that. And so our children are going to end up with these behaviors and these symptoms, and they're going to end up responding to challenges in an abusive way because their brain is just matching the environment. So we not only have to change what we think about abuse and how we talk about abuse, but we have to change the environment. And that means laws, that means educating ourselves. We have to make this a requirement. This is not a suggestion, right? We can't just suggest, that's why kids are getting killed in schools. We're letting our children down. And we need to sound the alarm. We make people who want to have adult clubs, sell liquor, we make them get licenses. They have to be trained to own a gun and get licenses. But we won't do that for our children. Here in America, you can open up a daycare center, foster care center. You don't have to get trained in stewards. You don't have to get trained in watching for child abuse or what it is. So we're saying one thing, but we're doing another. So I think this training should not be suggestive, but it should be mandatory. It should be mandatory that you get training in some form. If your congregants are not trained, if your youth pastors are not trained, then what are you really saying about the quality of life you're trying to provide, not just for them, but for their future? So I think, that's what I advocate for legislatures, for everybody. I travel around the country and the world teaching this, that, hey, we have to, this is not a suggestion. This is a mandate that God has given us. And like Siobhan said, I know I'm not a parent either, but we're all guardians. In fact, Jesus said to call no one father but God, right? So God lends children to us. They're not our property. They're God's property. And we are to honor them, and we are to make sure they're safe. And anyone that doesn't do everything possible to make sure that children are safe, whether you have children or not, we're all guardians. You're not only letting them down, you're actually letting God down.
Wow, powerful, powerful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think you have a choir here. You have a choir
Yeah.
in the room. Definitely, absolutely. I want you to know I really endorse this training, haven't done it. So we're not saying come and train with us and we have a watered down program. This is a top-notch, well-organized program. So we want to really, really encourage you. The date is the 26th. We have the contact number for Ms. Hollis, the email address, and she's someone, she responds right away, right? She's that quick. She's passionate and quick. How about that? So once you are interested in joining, here is the thing. If you're out there and you're listening and you don't have the $20, then hook me up. Let me give you my number. That's how important it is to me. Now, I'm not telling you I have a million, but I'm willing to stand behind the program. I want to see positive change and transformation in the Bahamas. I'm a Bahamian. I love my country. I love children, and I hate abuse. So all those things coming together means that I'm willing, if you truly want to be a part of the program but cannot afford it, and what I said, truly cannot afford it, then I'm going to leave you my number very slowly, 357-8383, 357-8383. Give me a call and let me know I want to be a part of this program. And if from the financial perspective, I will ensure that that is possible. I speak by faith. I'm a big faith talker. I have big belief in God, and I know that He can provide all things. So when I make them strong declaration, I know who's my daddy. I know who's my daddy. I know who's backing it. So I have no problem with that. As many of you that want to be a part of this productive, life-changing training, please get involved. Contact Ms. Hollis, contact myself. So now I'm going to the room. I see my best friend is in the room. She goes all the way back from childhood, and I'm so happy to see her. So I'm going to ask my best friend. She knows who she is. Now, don't disappoint me in the room. Let's get some questions going. If you have any question for our guest, question concerning training or advocacy, please unmute your mic at this particular time. We want to get those questions in. So I'm going to go to my best friend first and see whether she has any questions. Bestie, who's in the room, any questions for us? And then we're going to open it up. We'll open up our mic to anybody. But I'm going to give her, she's all the way in Miami, Florida. In case she doesn't know who she is, all the way back in Miami, Florida. I know she's like, Jackie, why are you calling my name? Kind of thing. But in the interest of time, if she's not ready to ask a question, do we have anybody else in the room? Otherwise, I'm going to go through my whole array of questions. So let me know. I want to open it up because time moves very quickly, and we want to make sure we get, unfortunately, I'm unable to go on Facebook because Dave isn't here. So I'm just dealing with persons in the room. All right, so I'm going to go to one of my questions. Can you explain the importance of early intervention in preventing child abuse? Either one of you can tackle this. Can you please explain the importance of early intervention in preventing child abuse?
I'll turn it over to Kevin. Kevin may have a little more insight.
I think the early we talk about things, the more significant and important we tell our children they are. We can't assume that our children will pick this up because human trafficking is a big deal. A lot of times I find as a law enforcement officer, children who have not been taught about abuse and the importance of their voice and the power of their voice, they're more susceptible to becoming victims of human trafficking because they're told that they'll be loved and cared for by these individuals who trick them into this trade because we haven't told them that their body is sacred. We haven't told them that they have permission over who touches them. We force them to go hug relatives and say, go hug them. And they lose that concept that, hey, I own this body. God blessed me with a body to reside on earth. And when you start telling kids that, you start giving them the power, you start teaching them about the body parts, you start teaching them about those zones that shouldn't be touched or exposed. And you start doing that very early, they get a sense of, and no one can tell them, let me do this or let me do that. You know, as an investigator, one of the things that really saddened me is that kids that were coming into the interview room after they had been abused at 13 and 14, 15 years old, they couldn't even give us proper names for the body parts because the parents thought that it was inappropriate and it was not age appropriate. Well, let me tell you, kids are talking about this. It's in the music, it's in the movies, it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. So you want your children to learn this from you versus learning it from the streets, learning it from the music culture, because they're going to get it in the wrong context. They need to get it from somebody early and often from someone who loves and cares about them and put it in a way that empowers them. If not, the persons in the world are going to use their body against them. Mm-hmm. Instead of allowing them to use their body what for God intended, which is to glorify Him in the world, and not to be used or sold as a commodity in the world.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yes, if I can chime on to what Kevin would have said. Yes, as a parent and a guardian, we can help, like he said, by teaching the younger kids about their body parts, body safety zones and whatnot. I speak briefly of a story with my grandniece when, I ran her water to take a bath and I was outside of the bathroom and she called me and started to ask me, pointing at her private parts, what are they? So these kids, she was, I think 3 or 4 at the time. And I was like, wow, I didn't know what to say because she wasn't my child. I didn't know if I should have that conversation with her. But it was thrown in my lap. So I called the mom and her mom said that was fine. So I explained to her exactly what it was. I didn't call it cookie or whatever little terminology we called it. I told her what it was. Then I started to go into scientific and biological side of it, So to this day, she knows and nobody's supposed to touch this, right, Addie? Nobody's. So she's quite equipped with that. And she always reminds me that I told her that. So going to what Kevin said, these kids can learn. So even if we tell them and the correct terminology, as we would have seen on the training when the child told the teacher her father ate her cookie or something like that, and she thought it was the actual cookie or biscuit. But teaching them the correct terminology and names for the body parts and safe zones, what people shouldn't be touching, and if they feel uncomfortable, because some kids are independent too. They want to take a bath themselves. So, the children of our days are even more advanced. So having age appropriate conversations with children is important as a parent, and that helps as well.
Well, just read even back about these body parts. When we don't give them the proper body part, these makeup crazy names that we come with, it gives them even a sense of, when they learn the correct name of the body part, like, that must be nasty. Something is wrong that my mommy did not tell me the correct name. Yes. So you're placing your child at a disadvantage as opposed to an advantage. And every parent wants, each parent wants to ensure that, his or her child is in place at the advantage as opposed to the disadvantage. So we can't overemphasize the need to ensure that it is, like you said, child appropriate conversation, correct information. And if by chance you don't know, because your parents might not have it, because I know some of, with my parents, people assume that the school, right? They try to delegate that responsibility to the school. I thought you learned that in school. Friends, that is not the primary responsibility of the school. That's your responsibility. You can't delegate that somewhere else. It starts at home, and the school builds on the foundation that you have laid as the parent. That I don't understand that. Like, parents believe like, okay, they should have done that subject in school. No, the starting point is at home. And if we start at home and allow the school to build, and then the church, and that's a whole nother another conversation, right? Then we say it's the church responsibility. No, 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 no. God starts with the home, father, mother. And if you don't happen to have a father, whatever, you do the best. You work with what you have. You don't give up. You work with what you have, and God blesses you from where you're at. That's it. But the responsibility still remains yours. And I'm pausing there because we in the Bahamas have a lot of situation with single homes, right? And sometimes it can be a lot on mothers. I know, I can relate. A lot on mothers, and they want to like give up, like I bringing in the money, it's just too much. But unfortunately, yes, it is much, but you're going to have to ask God for the grace, the mercy, the resilience, and all the other things that you need to ensure that you make time. You cannot get so busy bringing in that money that you don't have the time, the talent, or the strength, tenacity to have that conversation. You must be comfortable having that conversation. Dave, I see you're on the show, so I'm giving you an opportunity. I think you want to say something, Dave. I see your mic is open. Oh, okay. You came just in the background. So yes, very much. It's so important to have that conversation with our children. Just in case, I don't know if there's any question from our chat. Anyone want to have a comment? I know you're listening in. And sometimes this is a very difficult conversation. That's what we have, a lot of listeners, because people don't want to come to the mic and sometimes share their story. I don't know, in the Bahamas, despite the fact that, the conversation is starting, it's still a big, I don't think you have it in the US so much, or you could talk to that. You can speak to that and let us know if it's still a taboo in the States, but we know very much in the Bahamas, it's still a taboo subject. And, yes, it's still in the States. Do you have a little bit about that?
It's in the States. That's why I wrote a book called the Talk About Abuse book. Talk is an acronym that means teach all little children about abuse. And so in that book, I tell parents how to talk about it. There's even some pictures of girl and the boy and the parts of the body and what they name them, and give the kids the opportunity. There's even a little chant in there for them. This is my body. It belongs to me. This is my body. God allowed me to be how God allowed me to be. And so they learn that, and the parents can read that book to them to assist them in learning those body parts. Another thing I like to
book, please, and where they can find it before.
The Talk About Abuse book is on Amazon.com. It's for parents to read to their children, and for that very reason. And I think a lot of times, particularly when you start talking about abuse that's happening in homes, what I found in my research that if parents don't have that conversation, a lot of times when their children get older, their children will come back and blame them for not protecting them. And so I see a lot of that happening. A lot of children, if they don't say it verbally, they will come to resent their parents. And they'll say, I think you should have known. That's why I hear a lot of those saying, you should have known something was going on. It was your duty, you were gone all the time. You left me in charge of this individual who harmed me. And so now they become very resentful in life. And so that's another reason to do it.
That's a big one. That resentment, that's a big one. And that resentment, not to cut you off because I want you to continue, that it causes rage. So just going into our schools and our classroom, because I want to put in our homes, we just look at the behavior and we say that the child behaves, have bad behavior, not getting to the root and the reason. To talk a little bit more about that, because we have a lot of behavioral issues in our homes and in our schools and in our churches even, and we blame it on all kind of things without getting to really what is really happening with the child. So go right ahead.
Yeah, that's very important. You got to remember, if I'm gonna create violence one way or the other. When I create violence outwardly, right, that against someone else, that's external violence. That's violence against another person. However, if you're a person who was like me, I create violence against myself, which means I self-doubt myself. No matter what God says or does, no matter what the Bible says, I don't believe God. I can't believe God because I'm damaged. And so the only way I can feel even decent about myself is to drink alcohol, use my body for sexual purposes, or even kill myself, to commit violence against myself and destroy my relationships. That's one of the things that you really look for in children. Children are very relational. They're very, very outgoing. They like to discover the world. Once a child loses their ability to play and become curious, you've taken the spirit and the life out of them. And that's something that you see in children who've been abused. As a detective, that's one of the things I look for in my investigations. When a child made an outcry, I go to the schools, and always the teacher would tell me their grades went down. They would tell me their child quit their favorite activity. They'll tell me, the parents would tell me their child is not the same child, but they wasn't connecting with any type of abuse. They just thought the child was going through a phase. And so it's so important that we understand, if children can't communicate with their voice, they're going to communicate behaviorally. And as a result of that, we grow up. And some of this violence that we're seeing in the streets and some of the violence we're seeing as adults is the result of us not being able to talk about our abuse in our communities. So we acted out, all the rage and the anger. And so we're responding to the symptoms. It's like we're on a treadmill. We're responding to the symptoms, but not the root cause of abuse, of the violence, of all the economic issues. I believe everything in our culture that's bad stems from abuse. And I believe if we correct the abuse part, our world can get better. And so, but here's another thing, and I get in trouble for saying this, right? Trauma creates consumerism. When a person is traumatized, they buy things they don't need because the world tells them they're not good enough. So they go out and get things that they think will make them good enough: jewelry, cars, shoes, whatever. And so they become consumers. And so they're easily be marketed to, they can be marketed to by corporations who tell them they're not good enough. They need certain things to be of value because the trauma has made them feel less than. So it's very profitable for those in high positions. So when you start talking about healing people, that's a very revolutionary act. And so when you look at what Jesus does, it's a revolutionary act to heal people, because when you start healing people, you give them their power back. And so corporations and institutions don't want that. And so you have to look at it from that angle too. Like, if we're going to do it, that's why we have to band together. It's not a one person thing. This is why what you're doing now on the show, bringing people together and say, hey, we have to do this together. We can't, I can't, you remember the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement really didn't take off until, I hate to say it, a rich white woman complained about it, right? But Miss Burke had been doing it for years, right? And so, unfortunately, numbers speak power. If we don't come together as a community and say, hey, this is an issue for us, we're going to make this an issue for the world. Yes. And we're going to get our politicians to listen. If you don't listen, we're not voting for you. Currently, I'm working on an organization called Voters Against Abuse. Wow. And you have to get their attention, and you have to create an alliance to say, we won't take this. And so I think that's why it's so important.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so very true. We have 7 more minutes. I don't know where the time. I don't understand where especially when we have such powerful information. It's just like the time flies. Literally, it flies in the air, kind of thing. So, I mean, Kevin, you have provided such great insight. Ms. Wallace, it's always awesome to have you on show. Always come power pack with information. I think we had one particular guest. He was trying to reach out to me, and I was telling him to come, and he was trying to ask his question, but we only have 6 more minutes. I don't see him yet in the room, so he's trying to tell him to make his ask his question in the room. So we have 6 more questions. He's trying to communicate with me once again. 6 more questions. 6 more minutes. I want to make sure they know about this training. Kevin, I want to know if somebody needed to reach out to you, whether you're on Facebook Instagram that they can reach out with you. So maybe we can end with you, Ms. Hollis. Kevin, tell us where we can reach out to you. I definitely going to be reaching out to you. Tell us where we can get some more information from you and where we can get that book again, please. And then Ms. Hollis, summarize, in the interest of time, the date, the time, and how a person can reach out to you. Kevin first, and then Ms. Hollis.
Yes, I can be reached on Instagram at Kevin, KEVIN _McNeil, MCNEIL _, or you can reach me on LinkedIn, Kevin McNeil. Also, you can get my books off Amazon.com. Any of my books, they're available. Or you can go to my website at www.the12project, 12 is spelled out, project.com. And I look forward to hearing from everybody.
Ms. Hollis?
Sure. So just a reminder of the next virtual Stewards of Children, Darkness to Light Stewards of Children training, which will be held on Sunday, November the 26th at 2:30 p.m. It's a 3-hour training, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is a virtual training. And the donation is just $20. $20. You can reach me at saveourchildrenalliance@gmail.com. All one word, lowercase, saveourchildrenalliance@gmail.com. Once you reach out to me, I can forward you the information where you can make your donation, and then I would register you for the training.
Well, thank you so very much. And we've issued on behalf of Transforming Lives and MG Rebirth Ministry, which is a nonprofit ministry. I have persons attending that seminar, so I want to say to those individuals, make sure, get ready, mark the date. It's the 26th, 2:30. You need to be in the room. So we have about 5 or 6. But we also issued out another charge personally. I'm issuing, if you're listening by chance and you are interested in taking the course, and we want to encourage all persons, all Bahamians and worldwide, to please sign up for the course. Sign up for the course. Knowledge is power. If you cannot afford that donation of $20, please reach us at 357-8383. We want to make sure that you are part of this training on the 26th. Once again, knowledge is power. It's been a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We appreciate you taking the time. We know that this is a difficult, sometimes we meet persons and they watch it on the replay. They're like, Sunday's a difficult time. I go to church, I have dinner, and I have good intention. By the time I already eat that scrumptious meal, I am sleeping and I don't realize. We understand that. So you might be watching this on the rebroadcast. Once it's before the 26th, do you have a deadline? What's the deadline for registration, Ms. Hollis?
I would say the deadline is the 23rd.
The 23rd.
By the 23rd.
By the 23rd day, you have it. Please. Today is the 12th. We don't want you to wait the last minute. Please reach out. There is power in information. I'm going to give one last word to Mr. Kevin McNeil because he took the time. Ms. Hollis, he's going to have the last word because we are here, and then we'll turn it on. I'll see if Dave is on. If not, we'll bid everybody goodbye. But the last word is to you, Mr. Hollis, and then I'll see if Mr. Dave will return, and then we'll close the show. Mr. McNeil.
I would just like to say that this is one of the top priorities that we should be focused on. You know, we look at the world, we look at all the darkness, but this is the concern. And I believe God is calling us to really protect his children. You know, when Pharaoh wanted to destroy a people, he started with the children, by killing the children. And I think we're in a place in our society and culture that if we don't step up, then we're not only letting God down, we're letting our children down, and we're letting our future down. So please get the training. It's the utmost importance. And I ask and pray that you pray for us, the people who do the work, and the people who are out there in the front lines trying to make a difference. And so please, we need it. Thanks.
Amen. I want to say, hey, when Satan targeted you, he targeted the wrong one. I shared a little bit of my story, and I came back to that same statement that I was the wrong one when Satan targeted me. But I can say, so when he targeted you, he targeted the wrong one. Blessings upon blessing. Continue to be a light in darkness and share your story, because That's a powerful story. And you're not just a person who's sharing a story. You're a warrior. So you're in a whole different category. You're a warrior. So I speak that over you. Continue to go ahead and share light and light your world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again, Ms. Wallace. Always good to have you. We'll be connecting again. This 1 hour went by very quickly. I am sure that you've learned something as a result of listening in, and we want you to do a favor, a big favor. Share the video. Tell any and everybody. Let there be a ripple impact in terms of the information and the knowledge. So thank you for joining us on this beautiful Sunday. I'm Jacqueline Gardner. Dave is in the room in the background. Once again, our deepest sympathy on the passing of his very close relative. You know that if it had not been for that, he would have been in the room making his contribution. But he said, Jackie, this discussion, this topic is too important for us to close house and close shop. Get in the room. Let's get the information out. So I really respect him for it. Thank him for the opportunity. Thank him for the forum. I bless his life also and his family as they go through this difficult time. And to all our viewers, all our listeners, we speak blessings upon blessing. This have been your host. I'm actually the co-host, but today the host, sitting in for the one and only Dave Williams, speaking blessings without measure on your life and asking you once again to share our videos and ensure that you take this information, empower yourself. So start with yourself and then share it with others. Jacqueline Gardner, on behalf of Mr. Kevin McNeil, the one and only Mr. Kevin McNeil, a warrior, Ms. Wallace, a passionate woman for children, saying, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Goodbye, everybody. There's power, wonderful power in the name of Jesus. Bye.